My name is Walter Higgins, and for 30 years I owned 40 acres of quiet land at the edge of Maple Ridge Estates. I never once thought a homeowners association could steal a road right out under me. But they tried, and when they finished building it, I sent them one single envelope that ended everything. Before I tell you what was inside that envelope, hit subscribe, tap the like button, and leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my place. Now let's get back to the story. I bought my land back in the 90s, long before Maple Ridge Estates existed. Back then it was just fields and quiet woods, the kind of place where you could hear crickets at night and nothing else. I built a small cabin with my own hands, planted rows of apple trees, and lived a simple, peaceful life. Years later, a developer bought the land next to mine and built a fancy new neighborhood full of large houses with matching mailboxes and trimmed hedges. They named it Maple Ridge Estates, and they formed an HOA to run it. The HOA president was a sharp, confident woman named Diane Foster. She had a way of talking that made people agree with her before they even understood what they were agreeing to. For the first few years, Diane and I had no real problems. She would wave when she drove past my fence, and I would nod back politely. But everything changed the day the HOA board decided they needed a better road connecting the new homes to the highway. Their current road twisted through a narrow hill that flooded every spring, and residents complained constantly. The shortest, easiest path happened to cut straight through the back corner of my land, the part with the old oak trees and the dirt path my grandfather used for his tractor decades earlier. Diane sent me a letter asking permission to build a road through that section. I said no. My land was not for sale, and I did not want strangers driving past my apple trees every single day. I thought that would be the end of it. But Diane did not accept no easily. She told her board members that the corner of my property was unused land and that the county records were unclear about the exact boundary. She was wrong, but she said it with such confidence that people believed her without question. She started telling neighbors that I was blocking progress and holding the whole community hostage. Some neighbors even glared at me at the local store, as if I had personally caused them their flooded roads and their long morning commutes. Still, I ignored the rumors. I had my property deed, my land survey, and my grandfather's old paperwork locked safely inside a fireproof box in my house. I trusted that the truth would protect me eventually. What I did not expect was how far the HOA would go to get what they wanted. One morning in early spring, I woke up to the sound of heavy machines rumbling in the distance. I walked out to my back fence in my robe and slippers and saw workers already clearing my land. Trucks, bulldozers, and surveyors were spread across the corner section Diane had wanted for months. My heart pounded as I rushed inside and called the county office, only to be told that the HOA claimed they had an old easement agreement allowing access through that exact corner. I asked to see this so-called agreement. No one could produce it. But by the time I got any real answers, the construction crew had already cleared trees, laid gravel, and begun pouring concrete. Diane assured everyone at community meetings that the road was on solid legal ground, and homeowners believed her because she said it with such certainty and never once hesitated. Here is where most people expect me to run straight to a lawyer, file papers, and stop the machines immediately. But I did something different. I stayed quiet. I did not argue at meetings. I did not threaten anyone or make angry phone calls. Instead, I drove into town one afternoon and visited my old friend Arthur Bell, a retired county clerk who had worked in the land records office for almost 40 years. Arthur was the kind of man who remembered every property line in the county, even the ones that existed only on old yellowed paper tucked away in forgotten filing cabinets. I told Arthur what was happening, and he leaned back in his chair with a small, knowing smile. He reminded me of something I had almost completely forgotten.
Years earlier, before Maple Ridge Estates ever existed, my grandfather had legally recorded a private right-of-way and land boundary agreement with the county, protecting that exact corner of land from any future public or private road construction without written consent from the landowner. This paper was old, dusty, and completely forgotten by everyone except Arthur and me.
Instead of rushing to stop the HOA immediately, I made a decision that surprised even Arthur. I decided to let them keep building. I wanted to see how far Diane and her board were truly willing to go before I said a single word. Every week, I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee and watched more trucks arrive. They paved the road, added streetlights, painted crisp white lines, and even installed a small welcome sign that read Maple Ridge Estates Community Access Road. The entire project ended up costing the HOA nearly $2 million, funded through special assessments charged to every homeowner in the neighborhood, including families who could barely afford the extra bills. During this time, Diane became a local hero. She told everyone she had solved the transportation problem and increased property values for the entire community. Homeowners praised her at meetings and shook her hand at the grocery store. Some even suggested she run for a bigger position on the county planning board. She was proud, confident, and completely unaware that her greatest achievement was sitting on land she never legally owned. I waited until the road was finished. Not partly finished, completely finished, with the final coat of pavement dried and the streetlights turned on for the very first time on a warm Friday evening. Only then did I finally take action. I visited Arthur one more time, and together we carefully prepared a simple official document. I did not show up at the next HOA meeting shouting or demanding attention like people might expect. Instead, I quietly mailed one envelope directly to Diane Foster and the HOA's legal office. Inside was a copy of my original deed, my grandfather's recorded right-of-way protection, and a formal notice stating that the new road had been built entirely without legal permission on private property that could never be taken through any HOA vote or assumed easement. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Diane tried to argue that the county must be mistaken, but when her own lawyers checked the records Arthur had pointed us to, they confirmed everything was completely accurate. The HOA had spent $2 million building a beautiful modern road on land that legally belonged to me the entire time.
Because the road was already built, I did not tear it down out of spite or anger. Instead, I offered the HOA a simple choice, delivered calmly through Arthur, who helped translate my wishes into fair legal language. They could either pay me a fair yearly fee to use that section of land permanently, or they could remove every inch of pavement and restore my property to its original condition at their own expense. The board had no real choice left. Tearing out a $2 million road would have bankrupted the entire community and destroyed whatever trust remained. So they agreed to pay me an annual land use fee, larger than most people in town make from a small side business. Diane resigned from her HOA position quietly within a month, unable to face the same neighbors she had confidently misled for so long. The road still exists today. Homeowners still drive on it every single morning on their way to work. Only now, a small plaque near the entrance, placed there at Arthur's suggestion, reads, "Private land used with permission of the owner." Every time I see that little plaque, I smile quietly to myself, remembering how staying calm, patient, and prepared mattered more in the end than shouting ever could have. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you are subscribed for more real-life stories like this one, and drop a comment letting me know which part surprised you the most.